Hi there. I'm Hillary Hart, member of the faculty in Civil, Architectural, and Environmental Engineering, and it's wonderful to see all of you here. This year I serve as chair of the Faculty Council, and thus I have the real honor of introducing to you President Powers. And you will have the opportunity to visit with him in the brief reception that will be in the lobby after the address. If you already know Bill Powers, you know how inspiring he can be to talk with, how spectacularly he navigates both the telling details and the big picture as he discusses a new idea, a new way, for instance, of enriching the undergraduate or the graduate experience on campus. And I've heard him talk a lot about that. Many of you here also know the many ways that Bill Powers has championed the mission of our university during the past 6 years of his presidency. That championship, in partnership with alumni, faculty, staff, students, and friends of the university, has been especially critical in the past few years. Critical to our ability to maintain and improve the quality of the educational and research opportunities we offer our students. As a faculty member, I can say that Bill Powers leads by example and by his clear vision, articulated in conversations with faculty, in addresses such as the one you're about to hear. He leads us to innovate in ways that fulfill the university's core purpose, to transform lives for the benefit of society. Please welcome President Bill Powers.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you for that kind introduction. And let me take this opportunity to thank you for all you do as the leader of our Faculty Council, and thank our Faculty Council for all it does for our great university. And to all of you here today, let me say welcome. To all of you joining us on Longhorn Network, let me say welcome. And thank you all for being with us as we start the school year. Each year around UT's birthday, I do have the privilege of reporting on the state of our university. It's a bit like watching our children grow up. We might not notice changes from day to day, but when we look back a year, we see the growth. So together, we can scroll back through the year past and take stock of how much has changed, and then fit those changes into our long-term growth. And this last step is so important. For as C.S. Lewis put it, mere change is not growth. Growth is the synthesis of change and continuity. And where there's no continuity, C.S. Lewis concluded, there's no growth. So what has changed? What will change further? And what are the strands of continuity that define the essence of who we are as a great teaching and research university? Now, on several occasions in the past, I've referred to Plato and Heraclitus and Zeno to emphasize the importance of focusing on both change and continuity. And I'd like to remind you of that again today. Heraclitus had famously said, "You can't step in the same river twice. After all, it's made up of different molecules of water, so it's a different river." This could be seen as denying any continuity. Zeno then, in his famous paradox, could be seen as denying that any change is actually occurring. Plato set out to explain how change and continuity are both real and they're both important. A critical job that we have is to assess what changes make us better, what needs to continue to change, but also what needs to continue to define our essence through continuity. Plato got this, and so did C.S. Lewis. Now, in a few weeks, I'll have the honor of beginning my one-year service as the chairman of the Association of American Universities. The AAU is the premier organization of national research universities. There are currently only 62 members, public and private. And just 3 of those members are in Texas. Texas A&M, which was admitted in 2001, and Rice, admitted in 1985. And UT Austin, which I'm proud to say, has been a member since 1929. This role, thank you. This role will give me a visible platform to share my vision for higher education. And some of that I'd like to share with you today. So let me start by doing a little bragging on UT, or as we call it in Texas, just telling the truth. As much as anything, my election as chairman of the AAU is a recognition by our peers of the prominence of UT Austin. And this, in turn, is a credit to all of you, to the thousands of faculty, staff, students, and alumni who have made this university what it has become, a top world university. What began 130 years ago this month as little more than a lofty goal was nurtured year after year and built brick by brick by an audacious group of people. By the middle of the last century, we become a fine flagship university for our great state and even a regional leader in selected fields. By the end of the last century, we become a great national university by any measure, with top 10 programs in many fields and one of the most recognizable brands in America. As we complete our 13th decade and head into the heart of a new century, we've cast off mere regional aspirations. And indeed, we look even beyond national greatness and aspire to leadership in a rapidly integrating world. UT Austin is now a world university. And others recognize this fact. Just days after we met last year, the London-based Times Higher Education listed the University of Texas at Austin as the 25th best university in the entire world. They wrote that UT Austin's impressive performance this year sees it enter the top 25 of the world's best universities. Even more remarkably, this jump from 29 to 25 comes in the midst of an alarming sector-wide decline in the United States, with 51 institutions falling down the table in the face of mounting competition from heavy-spending Asian nations. UT Austin is one of the minority of American universities resilient to the challenge posed by the East in 2012. And it is rightly rewarded with a place in the top 25. And then just 2 months ago, the Riyadh-based Center for World University Rankings, using a different methodology, came to much the same conclusion and listed UT Austin as 26th in the world, up 4 places from just a year before. But let's take a more granulated look at the progress we've made. One of the 2 major goals of the Commission of 125 was to increase excellence in the departments and the organized research units. These are the organic units of the university. They're where the widgets are made. They're where the teaching and the research take place. The number of programs that we have ranked in the top 5 has gone from 16 to 20 in the last 8 years, a 25% increase. Top 5 graduate programs have grown by more than 75% in 8 years, from 9 to 16. And we now have 59 top 10 programs and 111 top 25 programs. We have progressed as a university. We have progressed as a university because we have progressed at the level of our individual programs. And these rankings are a mere reflection of what is a more important underlying reality. They're the result of the fact that we're actually getting better at what we do. We're teaching better. We're doing deeper and more extensive research. We're engaging our students and the community in richer and more meaningful ways. We're more diverse, both in our student body and our faculty. And we're fighting to protect that diversity in the Fisher case. And we need to ensure that our campus climate is always welcoming to a diverse community. Following the advice of the Commission of 125, we've refocused and re-energized our undergraduate experience. We've focused on the cost of a UT degree and on the time it takes our students to get that degree. We're leading efforts across the nation and here within the state of Texas to incorporate new technologies and teaching methods into our curriculum. We become and are becoming even more efficient in our business practices. Put bluntly, we've become more productive at what we do. We're better at it. That is good change. But critically, we measure that success against enduring criteria of what it means to be a world-class teaching and research university. And that is good continuity. So what explains the success of our departments and our organized research units that I've bragged a bit on or just told the truth? The main explanation is the talent and hard work of our faculty and of our staff. The ones who actually do the teaching, do the research, do the advising, and do so much more. We're a great university because we have great people. I am so proud of our faculty and our staff and what they do. And this is true across our entire university, but it is visibly exemplified by the honors our faculty receive. And I'd like to just mention a few. This year, 2 more faculty members were elected to the National Academy of Engineering. Joe Beeman in mechanical engineering and Sharon Wood in civil, architectural, and environmental engineering. John Goodenough, already a member of the National Academy of Engineering, was also elected to the National Academy of Sciences. He and Alan Bard received the National Medal of Science at the White House. Grant Wilson in chemistry and chemical engineering won the Japan Prize. Louis Caffarelli in mathematics won the Solomon Lefschetz Medal. And Dean Young in English was named the 2014 Texas Poet Laureate. And I could go on and on. We have a great faculty, and this explains why our units have flourished. And as we change and move into the future, I'm absolutely sure that one strand of continuity will be that great universities have great faculties. And this highlights a challenge for us. Our budgetary challenges will affect our ability to recruit and retain the best faculty. Other universities are strengthening their balance sheets as the economy improves. They'll be targeting our faculty. Strengthening our own ability to attract and retain faculty in a very competitive environment needs to be our highest long-term priority. Our future as a world-class university depends on that. And as we compete for faculty in challenging circumstances, we need to make sure that we don't compromise. As I've said on many occasions, B+ is our biggest enemy. Now, one thing that is likely to change, not just here, but in 21st century universities across the country, is the makeup of the faculty. Taken as a whole, our country needs teaching, it needs research, and sometimes these activities occur separately, such as the research that takes place in industry, research that takes place in our national laboratories, teaching that takes place in small liberal arts colleges or community colleges. But sometimes teaching does and should take place in the midst of a rich research environment. That, after all, is the essence of a great research university. It's the essence of the University of Texas. Now, there's no reason intrinsically why America's teaching needs across the country will always exactly meet the research needs. And that's why a lot of college teaching, again, takes place outside of major research universities. Moreover, Texas and America simply can't afford to have every single seat in higher education be at a major research university. But it is equally true and critically important that we simply must protect and have some seats in higher education that are in the environment of major research universities. We simply cannot afford to deprive students who want and need this kind of education, deprive them of the opportunity to learn in this research environment. And equally importantly, we cannot as a nation afford to fall behind in basic and applied research. We'll be better served if our nation has a variety of educational institutions. Homogenization always retreats to the mean. An array of diverse institutions serves the needs of a diverse group of students. After all, the division of labor and consumer choice has always been the landmark of productivity going all the way back to Adam Smith. Now, even on our own campus, we don't need every teacher to be a researcher or every researcher to be a teacher, and we've recognized that fact for years. As a consequence, we've deployed an extremely robust, talented, and professional cadre of lecturers. Led by Dean Judy Langlois, we established better career tracks for our lecturers, and as we move forward, this cadre of teachers will continue to be and will increasingly be extremely important to our university. And I don't know exactly how this will unfold over the next 10 years, but I do know that we need to be very purposeful and very strategic about our hires. Matching our workforce to our teaching and research needs is probably the most significant thing we can do to enhance our effectiveness. Where do our departments want to focus their teaching? Where do they want to focus their research? And are we being purposeful about making the right kind of hires to get our best bang for the buck? Now, I believe, as I said a moment ago, we have been purposeful and strategic about this in the past. But we will have to be even more strategic and more purposeful as we continue to move forward with limited resources. But what will be constant in all this is that a great university will continue to be judged by the quality of its faculty. And so for all of our faculty, as I said before, we need to avoid compromising at B+. We need excellence. And we need to have the wherewithal financially to recruit and retain the very best faculty in the world. That's been a challenge over the past few years. We've had only sporadic raises, and these have not been enough to keep up. That might work for the short term to get over budgetary crises, but it will not work in the long run. We need to rectify that, both by generating resources and by capturing savings elsewhere, and by focusing our existing resources on our talent. We've already done much work on this, but I do call on our department chairs, our deans, and our administrators in the tower, including myself, to continue to make this a top priority. Now, over the last several minutes, I've focused on our faculty, but the same thing is true about our staff. We simply could not operate without a truly excellent staff. We're blessed with your talent and your professionalism and your dedication. And we're falling behind in our ability to attract and retain our talent on our staff as well. We need to focus our resources to rectify that as well. Let me put it bluntly. We need raises, even if we have to stop doing some other important things to get them. And it's not just salaries. We are in a very competitive business. We need to make UT the most attractive place for our faculty and staff to choose to make a career. And this includes all the conditions and consequences of working at UT. And it includes all the benefits that we give to all of our employees. So the most important reason, as I've said, for UT's rise has been the quality, hard work, and talent of our faculty and staff. And as I've said, we need to continue to focus on that and not fall behind our competition. But I think the success of our departmental units has been enhanced by a second factor. We have a philosophy on this campus of pushing authority down into the units that actually have the responsibility for getting the job done. Then we ask these units to think strategically about how to use their limited resources. This is a philosophy of decentralization, and as I've described it on many occasions, it's the philosophy of Moneyball. And this was the insight of the Commission of 125. Put simply, central planning has its limits. The tower, myself included, does not know what's best for all the departments, say physics or philosophy. Too heavy a hand centrally actually stifles innovation and stifles reform. It homogenizes outcomes, and as I've said, retreats to the mean. By empowering our departments, we energize them to lift up their own prominence, and by doing so, they lift up the entire university. By empowering departments and then holding them accountable, we unlock the power of decentralized responsibility and of ownership. So I congratulate our departments and our organized research units for their success. And I make note that in my opinion, in my strong opinion, this will remain a prominent feature of success for universities throughout the 21st century. There'll be changes in the way we deliver courses. There'll be changes in the funding models and the business models. But great universities will flourish, and they will innovate, and they will reform when they empower their academic departments and their faculties. Now, another place that we'll see both continuity and change is in our physical facilities. As enrollments grow in Texas, we'll need additional facilities across the state. Although our own campus is not growing significantly, our own buildings are aging. And we need different kinds of buildings. And we need different kinds of buildings, as I say. The feast or famine approach we currently have in Texas for funding capital projects makes it difficult to plan, and it's not keeping up with the statewide needs. This needs to be reformed to establish the infrastructure across the state of Texas that we'll need in 2025. The need for capital projects will continue and will continue long into the future. But the nature of our capital projects will likely change. We do research differently, so we need more interdisciplinary research space and more flexible research space where we can collaborate with industry. We teach differently, with more emphasis on teamwork and projects and less on lectures and information. And we still don't know the full impact that technology will have on our teaching and therefore on what it will do to our facilities. So we do need to look into the future to ensure that we're designing buildings for the next century, not just the last one. But major research universities like the University of Texas will remain largely residential educational experiences. And in my opinion, my strong opinion, they should. Put another way, the death of major residential research universities is greatly exaggerated. Yes, we'll need to plan for a somewhat different array of facilities, but we do need to attend to our future capital needs. And on that, we have much to be proud of. Last year, we dedicated 3 gems on a 21st century campus. We opened UT's magnificent new liberal arts building. And Dean Randy Deal's vision and his team's creative approach to planning and financing this project allowed the building to be completed $15 million under budget. Bill Gates visited the campus to dedicate the Gates Computer Science Complex and Dell Computer Science Hall, all made possible by a $30 million grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and $10 million from Michael and Susan Dell through their foundation. And we opened the Belo Center for New Media, providing interactive classrooms and meeting space for more than 4,600 students in the College of Communications and the KUT Public Media Studios. This project would not have been possible without very generous gifts from the Belo Foundation, Maureen and Robert Deckard, and the Maroney family. And not every landmark dedication that we had was a building. In March, we dedicated Stampede, our newest supercomputer. It's capable of processing nearly 10 quadrillion mathematical computations per second. Stampede is currently the largest system available to scientists across the United States, thousands of whom will use it to conduct scientific research and make new discoveries. To build Stampede, UT Austin won a national competition for a $51.5 million grant from the National Science Foundation. And we also renamed our Department of Chemical Engineering for Johnny Makeda, 3-time head of that department, former dean of the now Cockrell School of Engineering, and at 97, certainly one of the most beloved figures on our campus. And I know that Johnny is right now watching us on the Longhorn Network. Johnny, God bless you for a wonderful career on our campus. Now, although our economy is doing better, we still face serious budget challenges. The legislature increased our funding by approximately $25 million over the next 2 years. This is a very positive step, and I am deeply grateful for it. But it must be seen against the backdrop of a $92 million decrease in state funding that we absorbed in the previous 2 years. We're still dealing with the consequences of that decrease. Furthermore, a large portion of the new state revenue has to be used to pay for increases in the cost of employee benefits and other required expenditures. Meanwhile, our tuition revenue has remained fairly flat. The bottom line is that we continue to operate on a very thin budget. Of the 14 public research universities in our peer comparison group, we have the lowest per student, per year support from tuition, general revenue, and here we would even include the available university fund. It would take $26 million a year to get us tied for 13th. $136 million to get us to the median. And $572 million year after year to match the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill at the top. We have a very thin budget. And this poses challenges when we compete with more robustly funded universities. But we should also keep in mind what that signifies. It means that we are one of the most, if not the most, efficient major university in America. It also means that the legislature's $297 million per year investment in 2011-12 was leveraged by a factor of 21 times to create a $2.8 billion university. That is a tremendous bargain for our state, unmatched anywhere else. We should be very proud of it. The state of Texas should be very proud of it and grateful for it. And it is why Kiplinger's ranks us as a best value. But we need to keep focusing on efforts to be even more efficient, more mindful of costs. One reason is to free up money for other critical purposes, such as the competitive salaries I've already mentioned. Another is that we do need to be mindful of the costs and affordability for our students and for their families. Just last month, the White House published its College Scorecard, an interactive tool families can use to evaluate college options. And I'm happy to report that UT Austin fares very well on this scorecard, with our cost needle pointing nearly into the below the median, but nearly into the low portion, and our graduation rates pointing into the high portion. President Obama has called on universities to control their costs, and at UT, we're doing just that. But the responsibility for the cost of public higher education also rests with the public. We can't continue to decrease public funding across the nation and then express shock when the price to students goes up or when we fall behind our competitors around the world. In the last 25 years, student enrollment at state universities across America has grown by 62%. But total funding has increased by only 2%. As a consequence, funding per student has dropped by 30% in those 25 years. State support per $1,000 of personal income has dropped nationally by 37%. We are witnessing across the country a massive, historic public disinvestment in higher education. In spite of that, higher education is still doing some amazing things. I already mentioned the 21-to-1 return on investment that we at UT Austin yield to the state of Texas. Education is still the best investment of public dollars a state or a nation can make. Just as our university advances when our departments advance, our nation will advance when our state governments across the country invest in their universities. America did this with the Morrill Act, creating land-grant colleges after the Civil War. America did it again with the GI Bill after World War II. America needs to do it yet again if we are to retain our leading role in the world. Now, last year, at this time, I noted the work being done by an outside blue ribbon panel that we called the Committee on Business Productivity. The committee analyzed a number of our operations, from how we organize our internal computing networks, to our parking, to our student housing systems. I presented their recommendations to the campus in January of this year, and I appointed Kevin Hagerty, Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, to lead the campus effort of considering and implementing these recommendations. Currently, Kevin and his team are in the process of finalizing their campus recommendations on transforming our administrative services and our systems. Their recommendations will call for the creation of a shared services center, where similar business processes that occur all across our colleges and schools and units, such as human resources and financial procedures, will be relocated to serve the entire university. In the coming months, the campus will have an opportunity to adjust these recommendations and provide feedback. I want to thank Kevin and his team for all of their hard work. And I also want to thank our staff council and our staff council leaders for their very helpful and constructive approach to this effort. The committee also provided recommendations on commercializing technology and better utilizing campus assets, such as our utilities and food and parking and housing. Both our technology commercialization and asset utilization committees will spend the fall talking with our staff and our students and our faculty and getting input. Now, not all of this transformative project will be easy, but I believe our university is open to change. And these changes will be made in the service of our core academic mission of teaching and research, and in the spirit of making UT the best public university in the nation. The most important way we can make college more affordable is to entice, encourage, cajole, coerce, do everything in our power to have our undergraduate students graduate in a timely manner in 4 years. And we also need to help our graduate students graduate in a timely manner. And many of you know that we're in the midst of an intensive program to raise our four-year graduation rates to 70%. David Laudy, our Senior Vice Provost for Enrollment and Graduation Management, and his whole team are doing a great job at this. Out of more than 8,000 full-time, first-time freshmen who entered in 2012, 98.6% continued into the spring. This is a notable improvement over previous years. The fall semester course failure rate, which was already low in 2009, has been cut to almost half of what it was then. On average, our students are taking more hours than past freshmen. Grades of first-year students in their first semester are improving, and the percent of freshman students who receive a failing grade is falling. Yes, we have significant work left to do, but we are actually moving the needle. Now, lurking behind a lot of these issues, affordability, four-year graduation rates, student success, is a technological revolution in our course delivery systems. Surely technology will change, indeed has changed the way we teach. But here too, I'm sure there will be critical strands of continuity. And to illustrate this, I'd like to tell a story. I've told it before, but I think it's worth repeating. Nowhere has technology and the technology of delivery systems had a bigger impact than on the print media. Venerable publications like Newsweek no longer even exist in printed form. Major newspapers struggle to make ends meet. Last year, I heard an executive from the Wall Street Journal talk about their approach. And their approach has been one of the most successful in the country. And his message was simple. Media that focuses only on the new technology lose their way. The Wall Street Journal, on the other hand, focused on its core competency, financial reporting and analysis. That is, it kept its focus on the content. And then it used new platforms to deliver that traditional content. And the Wall Street Journal has thrived. Our core competence is research and teaching critical thinking and analysis. New technologies can help us deliver that content, and we should use those opportunities. And we have used those opportunities. Indeed, UT is seen across the country as a leader in this field. But we need to focus on critical thinking and analysis. In 2010, I began organizing the Public Flagship Network, a group of leaders from 10 public AAU universities to collaborate on these issues. And we followed up with a collaborative Texas network of universities and community colleges. We're developing collaborative ways to use technology to embrace our students' education. We're developing curriculum for high schools and on-ramp courses to help college readiness. Our professors use new technology to flip large classrooms. That is, reverse the traditional order of learning so that students can use web resources like video lectures to absorb the content first, and then use the classroom to discuss what it means or to solve problems. We're building massive open online courses and a new educational delivery and research platform called edX. We're doing it with Harvard and MIT and UC Berkeley and other major research universities. And I do want to thank David Laudy and Harrison Keller for leading us in those efforts. For a long time, the debate was whether a traditional course works better than a technology-enhanced course. I think we need to go beyond that. The real question is, what does each of those do well? And what combination of experiences best serves our students over a 4-year residential experience? Indeed, I would include the whole array of experience, including internships and study abroad and TA and RA experiences and student activities. When we look at individual courses, I think we look at the wrong end of the telescope. We should ask what traits we want our graduates to have, and then reverse engineer our curriculum. That is, the totality of the experiences that our students have to create those traits. It's not just the individual course that counts. It's the ecosystem of courses and experiences working together. I'm absolutely convinced that for our students, we need a very heavy dose of face-to-face residential experiences as the core of that ecosystem. But within this mix, there is still substantial room to expand our technology-based offerings. For a significant part of our students' experience, technology does give us an opportunity to enrich their curriculum. Sometimes these offerings will simply help our students schedule classes in a way to stay on track for a timely graduation. Sometimes they'll allow our students to take specific skills and courses that teach those skills more efficiently. Sometimes they offer more interactive and analytical, that is, pedagogically better, alternatives to passive large lectures. Sometimes they can fill specific gaps in a student's high school preparation. And sometimes they can allow our students to take special courses from another university that we might not otherwise be able to offer. And when we get the right business model, and right now that is a big challenge, they can help lower the cost of a degree. All of this is an opportunity, even if the curriculum will and should remain predominantly residential and face-to-face. And so I am especially proud of our faculty pioneers in these efforts. Pioneers like Jeff Helmer, who's teaching an edX course in jazz appreciation. David Vandenbout and Cynthia LeBrock, who are teaching a hybrid course in chemistry, and Jamie Pennebaker and Sam Gosling, who are pioneering the concept of synchronized massive online courses that teach classroom students and remote students at the same time. And now we're at a stage where we need to establish some parameters to these efforts. And I recently stated my views about the principles that should guide us going forward. The faculty and academic units should control the curriculum and keep standards high. We need to support and reward faculty and their departments for innovation, and also implement an infrastructure that supports this innovation. Our efforts must, in the end, be financially sustainable. We need to get to a place where some faculty are using materials prepared by others, just as we now do with textbooks. and we need to continue to innovate over a long period of time. But these are just my contributions to this effort. Ultimately, the faculty needs to decide about the curriculum, just as it did with our curriculum reform following the Commission of 125. And with authority over the curriculum comes the responsibility to make progress on these issues. And so these issues should be a central part of our faculty council's work this year. And I'm so happy to report that the outgoing and incoming chairs of faculty council, Martha Hilly and Hillary Hart, have established committees to focus on this work. And on our work to develop and innovate, we must never forget to include our students, who are, in one sense, the experts. Students will simply expect that their education will be both high touch and high tech. Students will be our partners and will leverage their native user sensibilities to continuously improve their education. Well, another major accomplishment this past year and a central focus in the year to come is our medical school. This is one of the most important and exciting developments in the history of our university. It's been quite a year. In November, the voters of Central Texas authorized a tax for the hospital district that makes a medical school possible. In January, two of the best friends this university has ever had, Michael and Susan Dell, pledged $50 million through their foundation, and we named the medical school in their honor. In May, we reached a major milestone when the Board of Regents approved the site plan for the medical complex. The complex that will house the school's main components: an education center, a new teaching hospital, a medical office building, and alas, a parking garage. The plan will be more than 500,000 square feet where students can learn, do research, and treat patients. This approval was a critical step toward achieving our goal of admitting the first class of 50 students in the fall of 2016 and becoming the first major research university in more than 35 years to open a medical school. A steering committee has been meeting since January, and subcommittees are selecting a new dean and developing a curriculum that will lead to accreditation. Committees have also tackled the challenge of keeping key community groups engaged in this process. And we have wonderful partners in Seton and in Central Health. And we owe a great, great debt of gratitude to Senator Kirk Watson for his dogged leadership. To all of them, I say thank you. Though these are major developments, they're just the beginning of what will be a torrent of activity over the next 3 years to make the UT Dell Medical School a reality. And finally, I'd like to mention one last change in the higher education landscape that is affecting us now and will affect us for years to come. Higher education, yes, even public higher education, and particularly UT, is increasingly dependent on philanthropy. As state funding continues its decades-long decline as a share of our budget, and as we focus on keeping tuition affordable, we need to cultivate new streams of funding to close the gap and raise the bar of excellence. Only through philanthropy will we be able to realize our founders' vision for national and world-class greatness. To achieve this vision, 7 years ago, we launched the Campaign for Texas. We set a goal 3 times larger than anything we'd attempted before, $3 billion. Almost immediately, the economy crashed. But we kept our heading. We forged ahead. And now we've raised $2.25 billion. Thank you. Thank you. Alumni, friends, foundations, and corporations are rising to support our vision for a flagship university in Texas, second to none in the nation. And last month, UT broke its all-time record for philanthropy, with projections of more than $453 million in a single year, crushing the previous record of $366 million by 23%. Now, this gift does count the wonderful gift, or this total does count the wonderful gift from Michael and Susan Dell that I mentioned a moment ago. We still do have some accounting work to determine whether that gift will count in 2013 or 2014. But either way, it was a record year. Now, these record level gifts will directly benefit our students, support game-changing research, and help us make UT Austin the top public research university in the nation. Large gifts have made a huge difference, and we're extremely grateful for them. But more than 90% of the gifts have been for less than $1,000. There is great and widespread participation. In addition, we've had a number of individual people and families include a gift to UT in their estate plans for a total of $76 million, the highest amount during the current campaign and the second highest amount in the history of UT. Well, we should be immensely proud of this accomplishment and what it says about the direction we're going. It's not time to celebrate yet. The fact is, we need one more record year. We're within striking distance of our goal, but before we can claim victory, we'll need one more truly extraordinary year, an effort that dwarfs everything we've done so far. I know this is possible. And I ask every alumnus, every friend, every fan of the University of Texas to be part of this effort. If you have given before, thank you. And please give again. If you haven't given yet, join the team and be part of this historic effort. Pledging to leave a gift in your will counts toward the capital campaign. Kim and I have done this ourselves. And I encourage every one of you to leave something to UT in your will. Or if you've already done that, tell us about it. Contact us to make this happen as soon as you can. Search on Campaign for Texas and make a gift in any amount today. We can do this. And finally, maybe I should say finally, to Steve Leslie, thank you. Thank you for your extraordinary service as our Executive Vice President and our Provost for the last 6 years. I simply can't imagine these last 6 years without your support, your leadership, and your friendship. No words of thanks are enough for what you've done. And to Greg Fenves, thank you for accepting this challenging assignment. You're the perfect person to become UT's next Chief Academic Officer. So the university, in all of those ways, is changing. And the university, in the critical ways I've mentioned, has strands of continuity that we need to maintain. Mainly, your university, our state's university is strong. I know all of you, each in your own way, will help us make it even stronger. And from the bottom of my heart, thanks to all of you for what you do for our great university. And hook 'em horns. Thank you.